gymnasium was glowing with golden string lights, the music was loud, and students laughed in groups, dressed in their finest. For most, it was the night they had dreamed about for months, their prom night. But for one girl, standing awkwardly at the far corner of the dance floor, it was a night that would turn into something no one would ever forget. Her name was Maren Holt, a quiet farm girl who had been the subject of ridicule at her school for as long as she could remember. She came from a family who worked hard, living in a small farmhouse miles outside town, raising chickens, cows, and endless fields of corn. For Maren, the prom wasn't about glamour, it was about one small hope, that maybe, just maybe, she could feel like she belonged. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of standing tall even when others try to bring you down, then please pause for a moment, like, comment, share, and subscribe to Fearless Grace. Together, we can make sure stories like this one reach and inspire more people. Maren had spent weeks sewing her dress. It wasn't designer, not even from a store. It was made of soft blue satin scraps her mother had bought from the clearance bin, stitched late at night by Maren herself when farm chores were done. Each thread carried her determination, each stitch was a dream she desperately wanted to shine. But as she walked into the prom, her dress was met not with admiration but with mocking whispers. Some girls giggled and pointed, some boys smirked. She kept her chin high, pretending not to notice, but her heart ached. One boy in particular had made her night worse, Carson Vale, tall, broad-shouldered captain of the football team, and a boy who never failed to remind others of their place. Earlier that evening, Maren had mustered every ounce of courage she had and asked him if he would dance with her. For a moment, she thought she saw something soften in his eyes. But then came the laughter, sharp and cruel. He turned to his friends and announced, "The farm girl thinks she belongs with us." The room erupted with chuckles, and Maren had fled to the corner, her cheeks burning with humiliation. But Carson wasn't finished. As the night grew later, and the crowd more careless with their laughter, Carson and his two closest friends, Rhett and Mason, swaggered toward her. Their eyes glinted with mischief, and everyone seemed to know something bad was about to happen. They circled Maren like predators who had spotted easy prey. With mocking voices they tugged at her arms, sneered about her home-sewn rags, and before anyone could stop them, Carson grabbed the hem of her blue dress. With one violent jerk the fabric ripped, tearing up the side seam. Gasps filled the air as Maren stumbled back, clutching at the shredded fabric that now exposed her legs. Time froze in that moment. The humiliation was unbearable. Tears stung her eyes, but beneath the sting was a fire. She remembered every early morning in the fields, every heavy bale of hay she had lifted, every time she had been told she wasn't strong enough, pretty enough, or important enough. Something inside her snapped, not in defeat but in defiance. Carson laughed and stepped closer as if he had won, but what happened next would forever silence the sneers of that gymnasium. Maren dropped her torn hem, squared her shoulders, and her eyes hardened with a strength no one expected. With lightning speed she pivoted on one heel, her body twisting in perfect motion. Her legs swung high and fast, and before Carson could even flinch, her boot connected with his jaw in a flawless roundhouse kick. The sound was sharp, shocking. Carson stumbled back several feet before crashing onto the floor. His friends stood frozen, their bravado evaporating in an instant. The music stopped, the laughter cut short, and the entire room filled with stunned silence. No one had ever seen the quiet farm girl fight back, much less take down the toughest guy in school with a single move. Maren stood tall, breathing hard, her torn dress flowing around her like battle armor. Her fists clenched at her side, her chest rising with the force of her heartbeat, and though her eyes were wet, her expression was unbreakable. For the first time, the girl they all mocked didn't look small. She looked powerful. The crowd erupted, not with laughter, but with cheers. Some clapped, some whistled, and others just stared in awe. Carson groaned on the floor, holding his jaw, while his friends backed away, suddenly unsure of their place. Maren didn't wait for an apology, she didn't need one. With each step, she walked through the crowd with her head held high. The same people who once whispered against her now parted like waves, giving her room as though she were untouchable. But the story didn't end there. That night became more than a shocking moment. It became a turning point in Maren's life. Rumors spread quickly, not of her humiliation, but of her courage. Teachers whispered about her discipline. Students replayed the scene over and over, and even those who had mocked her before couldn't deny the respect she had earned. What they didn't know was that Marin's strength hadn't come from nowhere. On the farm, long before prom night, she had trained herself not just in chores but in martial arts videos her father used to play on their old television. When her chores were done, she practiced kicks and punches in the barn, telling herself one day she would need to be strong enough to protect herself. She had no idea that night would come on prom night under golden lights. In the weeks that followed, something unexpected happened. Other students, those who had been bullied, laughed at, or cast aside, began to look at Marin differently. She wasn't just a farm girl anymore. She was proof that strength could come from anywhere. And slowly, Marin found her voice. She joined school clubs, spoke out in class, and began helping others who had been targets. The farm girl who once hid behind quiet stares became the girl others leaned on for courage. Carson, on the other hand, learned his lesson the hard way. His reputation never recovered, and though his pride was shattered, Marin didn't hold bitterness. In her heart, she knew that what happened wasn't just about revenge. It was about finally breaking free from the shadows of shame. On the last day of school, Marin wore her torn prom dress again, patched up with new stitches, but still showing the scar where Carson had ripped it. She walked through the halls as if it were her crown, not a mark of weakness but a victory. She carried it as a reminder that dignity doesn't come from what others give you. It comes from what you refuse to let them take away. As she stepped outside the building for the last time, the sunlight warmed her face, and the farm girl everyone underestimated finally felt her own worth blazing brighter than the sun itself. She wasn't just Marin Holt, the girl from the farm. She was Marin Holt, the girl who stood tall, who fought back, who turned her pain into strength. And that was a name no one would ever forget. If this story touched your heart, if Marin's courage reminded you of the strength hidden within all of us, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Fearless Grace. These stories live on when you carry them forward. And before we close, drop a comment below with this thought: true strength is rising when others expect you to fall. I can't wait to read your thoughts.